Hey guys, Andy here, and welcome to my Diddy Kong Racing any% speedrun in 5 minutes and 6 seconds. This particular run is known as the any% wrong warp. We'll be completing the game as quickly as possible using a glitch found in Hot Top Volcano that will allow us to get to future Funland and get to the final race within minutes. The timer for the run begins at power on for the game and ends when I cross the finish line of the final and only race we'll be seeing in the entire run. So for a game called Diddy Kong Racing, we won't be doing all that much racing. Diddy Kong is always the first character the cursor lands on during the character selection screen, so it's quicker to use him. Firstly, we choose Adventure 1 and begin a new file which we'll simply name AAA. The file name uses 3 characters, so again this is the quickest way of naming it so we can then just get into the intro. Now this run has no restrictions on glitch usage, so with that in mind we'll be using the Hot Top Volcano wrong warp. But in order to reach the wrong warp, we're going to be flying out of bounds during the race in Hot Top Volcano, which you'll see in a second. Basically, for some unknown reason, there's an area below the starting line in Hot Top Volcano that if you fly into it, you'll be warped back to the main hub world by default. The only way to reach this strangely placed loading area is to fly under the course geometry and end up out of bounds. The Hot Top Volcano wrong warp is one of the most game-changing glitches of Diddy Kong Racing. The loading zone appears in every version of the game, although flying into it crashes the PAL and NTSC 1.0 versions of the game. Once the opening cutscene is finished, we immediately press start and quit the game, but the run is far from over. Using 2 controllers, we next select 2 characters, this time Diddy and Crunch. Then we're taken to a track selection menu. Now choosing Hot Top Volcano, we'll enter a 2-player race with planes. We pick up 2 blue balloons for a bigger boost which we'll need to get under the course and out of bounds like so. We're kinda flying blind for a second as the course disappears, but using the on-screen map we can find the starting line. And here's my first major time loss of the run. The hitbox for the loading zone trigger is both invisible and kinda small, so I fly past, missing it completely twice, costing me around 5 seconds each miss. Once I've flown into the loading zone, I'm taken back to the hub world, but you might notice something a bit odd this time. Apart from Crunch falling into a blue void, we're in the hub world while in 2-player mode. The loading zone for future Funland is always there regardless of whether or not you have all the amulets, and we're able to access it within this 2-player hub glitch. Now usually the amulet door to the final race would be a problem, but because it's never intended that you have a plane here, the walls above the door have no collision, and so we can just fly over them. And now we're at the final race, but things are not what they seem. Not only is WizPig a strange colour, but we're now treated to a 35-second long camera pan of the course in the lower section of the screen. This can most likely be attributed to the fact that this course is not designed for a 2-player race, and the game is trying to adjust accordingly. There's probably nothing programmed for the second in-game camera, and so it just floats off through the course. This side effect of warping to the hub world while in a 2-player race also crosses over to the ending cutscene too. Anyway, with the race finally underway, we're going to be using the same trick of flying under the course to get out of bounds that we used in Hot Top Volcano, which will cut out a huge amount of this pretty difficult race. Everyone knows what kind of cheap shots this course can throw at you, so we're going to grab a blue balloon and then, at the right angle, we're going to use a boost and roll to get out of bounds. I must have been pulling back on the control stick as once I'm out of bounds I do a loop, which could have pushed me back in bounds if I was in the wrong spot. Now it's just a case of flying around the course out of bounds while using the on-screen map as a guide. Certain areas have to be flown through in order for the game to count a lap, so I have to make sure I'm going to the right points of the course. On a straight flight I do rolls in the air, which if done well is actually faster than just flying level. So as you can see, the course is actually much simpler when you get out of bounds, but there's a section coming up that if you're not careful, you'll actually fly back in bounds, which I've done a few times. The main problem is that the walls are invisible from this side, so you have no idea how close to them you are. You can use the map as a guide, but the scale isn't that precise. Once you learn some on-screen visual cues, however, you'll learn when to start making the turn to the left to stay out of bounds. The rest of the course is mostly a case of flying close to the main area while staying outside of it, and the course lap triggers are fairly lenient, so you're able to cut huge corners and meet back up with the main bulk of the course. With the final lap, you can see how far ahead of WizPig I've managed to get, so as long as I don't screw anything up, I'll win this by a landslide. Once I've managed to get around this tricky section, I can now just book it to the finish line. Being that this is the only race we actually properly participate in, there's not too much that can go wrong with a run like this. I guess the hardest bits are getting out of bounds in both Hot Top and this final race. And so, with that all out of the way, here we're now finally approaching the finish line and time. Hooray, we came first, was there any doubt? The ending cutscene will be played out with a 2-player split screen, and it's a pretty strange watch, but that's my Diddy Kong Racing any % wrong warp speedrun. And if you like this episode, hit that like button, share it with everyone you know and love, but most importantly, if you'd like to see other speedruns, subscribe to see more from the series. If you'd like to learn how to perform the glitches used in this run, you can check out episode 28 of Son of a Glitch to see how it's done. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter or like the Facebook page. I post updates and previews to upcoming episodes and keep you in the know. Try it, you might like it.